Chapter 1. The wind clawed at the empty roadside like it was trying to tear the night apart. Snow drifted sideways in heavy sheets, swallowing the narrow two-lane highway and turning it into a cold, white tunnel. Daniel Hayes felt the vibration of the worn steering wheel under his palms as his old pickup crawled through the storm. The heater was fighting a losing battle, coughing out lukewarm air that barely reached his fingers. But he'd taken this road 1,000 times. Tonight, though, something felt different, like the darkness held its breath. He had worked a double shift at the mill again, the kind that left aches deep in his bones. But work was work, and the extra hours meant he could buy his son, Noah, the new winter jacket he'd been pretending he didn't need. Daniel had no patience for pride. Warmth came before appearances. He wasn't rich, wasn't important, but he was steady. And steady was what kept his small world from collapsing. A sudden movement on the side of the road caught his eye. He almost missed it, a sliver of color against the snow. He tapped the brakes and the truck skidded slightly before settling. His headlights washed over a young girl curled beneath a tree, knees tight to her chest, coat thin as paper. She was shivering violently, her face pale, lips trembling with rapid breaths. Daniel's heart lurched. He threw the truck into park and jumped out, the cold slicing through him like a blade. "Hey," he called, boots crunching through the snow. "Are you hurt?" The girl's head lifted slowly, as though it weighed more than she could manage. Her eyes, wide, terrified, seemed to take a moment to understand what she was seeing. I'm fine," she whispered, though her voice cracked under the strain. "No, you're not," he said gently, crouching in front of her. "You'll freeze out here." She flinched as he reached for her arm, but he stopped, letting her decide. After a long pause, she let him help her up. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten properly in days. "My name's Daniel," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you. Let me get you warm." The girl nodded faintly. Inside the truck, she huddled near the vents, but her shivering didn't stop. Daniel took off his own jacket and draped it around her shoulders. She tried to protest, but he shook his head. "You're freezing." "I'm fine." She studied him like she wasn't used to people giving anything without wanting something back. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Leah, that's a nice name." She pressed her hands against the heater again. I'm lost." He didn't push for details. Fear was written across her expression. And the night was no place for interrogations. "You're safe now," he said instead. "We'll get you warm. We'll figure the rest out in the morning." They drove the rest of the way to his small rental house on the edge of town. It wasn't much, one floor, creaky steps, and lights that flickered when the wind rattled the lines. But it was shelter. Inside, he guided her to the couch, turned on every heater he had, and brought her a blanket. She looked around the room with wide, uncertain eyes, lingering on the photo of Daniel with Noah taped beside the TV. A single dad. A simple life. A man who didn't have much, but gave what he could. "You don't have to trust me right away," Daniel said quietly, handing her a mug of warm water because he was out of cocoa. "But you're not alone tonight." For the first time, she seemed to breathe fully. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside the tiny house, a fragile sense of safety began to form, the beginning of something neither of them understood yet. Something that would shake Daniel's life in ways he could never imagine. The interrogation room was elegant compared to anything Daniel had imagined. Polished wood, velvet chairs, golden trim, but it felt more suffocating than any jail cell. Across from him sat a man in a dark suit, calm and composed. "Mr. Hayes," he began, "you understand why we brought you here?" "No," Daniel said plainly. "I don't." The man folded his hands. "Princess Amelia, known to you as Leah, disappeared 2 days ago during an official tour. When someone of her status goes missing, we assume the worst." Daniel exhaled slowly. "I didn't kidnap her. I didn't even know who she was." "We can confirm that," the man said. "The footage from your home, the phone records, the neighbor's statements, all of it supports your story." He leaned forward slightly. "But the public doesn't know that." Daniel groaned, rubbing his temples. "Of course they don't. You were seen with her. You sheltered her. And the media has already crafted its narrative. So what now? He asked. Do I just go home and pretend none of this happened? The man paused. Mr. Hayes, the princess insisted on speaking with you. Before Daniel could respond, the door opened. Okay? And Leah stepped inside. She was dressed differently, now royal attire, cloak embroidered with silver threads, but her eyes were the same, soft, earnest, hurting. Daniel, she whispered. He stood, unsure if he should bow, unsure of anything. I'm so sorry, she said, voice trembling. I didn't want you to be dragged into this. It's not your fault, he replied. Storms pull people into places they never planned to be. Her breath caught because he meant it, every word. She stepped closer. I ran away because I felt trapped. I couldn't breathe under all those expectations. I didn't think anyone would help me without wanting something in return. Daniel gave a small, tired smile. You're not the first teenager to feel that way. Just the first one with royal guards chasing her. She laughed softly. The suited man cleared his throat. Your Highness, we need your final decision. She turned back to Daniel. I told them everything, she said. How you stopped in the storm. How you didn't push me for answers. How you gave me your jacket, your home, your kindness. Kindness doesn't need a reward, Daniel murmured. Maybe not, she said, but justice does. She faced the man. I want all charges dropped, publicly, and I want Mr. Hayes cleared in an official statement. That can be arranged, the man. The knock came just after noon sharp. Heavy official. Daniel looked up from washing dishes, frowning. No one knocked like that in this part of town. Not unless something was wrong. Leah froze instantly. Her spoon slipped from her fingers and clattered against the bowl. Her face drained of color. No, she whispered. Not here. Not yet. Daniel wiped his hands on a dish towel and walked toward the door. Whoever was out there, he told himself, it was just a misunderstanding. Maybe someone saw his truck on the roadside and reported suspicious activity. Maybe the landlord finally sent someone to fix the heater. He opened the door and came face to face with two uniformed officers, but not local. Police. These men wore deep navy coats embroidered, with a crest he didn't recognize, a crown intertwined with a star. Their posture was too rigid, too precise, their expressions too cold for small-town law enforcement. Daniel Hayes, the lead officer asked. Yes. The man's eyes swept the room behind Daniel, assessing every shadow. We're looking for a young woman, he said. She may have been seen in this area last night. Daniel's gut tightened. What's this about? He asked carefully. Before the officer could answer, Leah stepped into view behind him, trembling. The officers straightened instantly. Your Highness. The lead one said, bowing his head. Daniel blinked. What? Leah shook her head frantically. Please don't. Not here, the officer continued, voice firm. We've been ordered by the Crown to bring you back immediately. Your disappearance has created a national emergency. Daniel stared at her. Your Highness. She wouldn't meet his eyes. The second officer stepped forward. Sir, were you aware of her identity? Daniel shook his head. I found her in the storm. That's all. But the neighbors had gathered, whispering, pointing, recording with phones. The poor guy who drove a rusty truck and wore the same jacket for 10 winters harboring royalty, helping a runaway princess. The rumors were already spinning out of control. One neighbor muttered, he's in trouble. Another said, they'll arrest him. Leah's face crumpled. He didn't do anything. He helped me. Please don't punish him, please. The officer raised a hand to silence her. No one is being punished. But protocol requires an inquiry. The words sliced through Daniel like frostbite. Inquiry. It's standard procedure, the officer said. But until we clarify your intentions, sir, you'll need to come with us. Leah grabbed Daniel's arm. No, please. Don't take him. He's good. He's the only one, her voice broke. Daniel put a steady hand on her shoulder. It's all right. I'm not scared. He was. But he wouldn't let her see that. The officer stepped aside to let him through. The neighbors continued whispering, documenting, spreading the story faster than any truth could keep up. Single dad shelters, runaway princess, kidnapping. Suspicious. The humiliation burned hotter than the cold ever had. Noah ran after him, grabbing his coat. "Dad, don't go." Daniel knelt, pressing his forehead to his son's. "I'll be back. You be strong for me." But as the officers led him into the unmarked black vehicle, the world seemed to tilt, like kindness had become a crime, like helping someone in the dark had somehow turned into betrayal. Leah watched through the window, tears streaking down her face. The car door shut between them, and with that single thud, Daniel's quiet life shattered. The morning sun broke through the storm clouds, casting long beams of gold across Daniel's worn living room. The house smelled faintly of old wood and instant oatmeal. Daniel moved quietly in the kitchen, careful not to wake Leah until she was ready. The girl had fallen asleep on the couch almost instantly, wrapped in his biggest blanket like a fragile winter bird. He set a bowl of oatmeal on the table and glanced toward the couch. She stirred, blinking slowly at the unfamiliar ceiling. "Morning," he said gently. "I made something to eat. It's not fancy, but it's warm." Leah sat up cautiously, the blanket still wrapped around her. She looked smaller in the daylight, younger, her face soft with exhaustion rather than fear. "You didn't have to." She began. "I know," Daniel replied, setting a spoon beside the bowl. "But I wanted to." She approached the table timidly, like she expected the kindness to vanish if she got too close. When she finally sat down, she ate with small, careful bites, as though savoring each one. After a few minutes, she looked up. "Why did you stop last night?" she asked. Most people would have driven past. Daniel shrugged. "I've been cold before. I know what that feels like." She studied him again, searching his face for any hidden motive. She must have found none because her shoulders relaxed slightly. He gestured toward the jacket still draped over her. "You keep that until you're warm. I'll survive without it." "You're kind," she murmured. "Just human," he replied. Noah emerged sleepily from the hallway, rubbing his eyes. His hair stuck out in all directions, making him look like a drowsy hedgehog. "Dad." "Who's that?" He mumbled. "This is Leah," Daniel explained. "She needed a warm place last night." The boy nodded, accepting the explanation. Isley children had a way of trusting what adults complicated. He sat beside her and smiled. "You want my cereal? It's the good kind." Leah blinked, surprised. "No, thank you." "You can have it," Noah insisted. "Dad says sharing makes you stronger." Daniel rolled his eyes. "I didn't say it exactly like that." "Cute it," Noah said proudly. "Kindness is like muscle training." Leah gave the smallest laphaz sound, so soft it felt like glass tapping gently against wood. Daniel felt something ease in his chest. Maybe she hadn't laughed in a long time. He made tea. And they sat together at the table, the room filling with a quiet warmth of simple company. "Do you need to call someone?" Daniel asked eventually. Leah stiffened. "No," she said quickly. "Please." "Not yet." Her voice trembled, and he lifted his hands in surrender. "All right, no pressure. You stay as long as you need to figure things out." That single sentence gentle. Patience seemed to break something inside her, like she had been holding a fragile shell of strength together, and it finally cracked. Tears welled in her eyes, and she turned her face away. Daniel didn't crowd her. He didn't ask questions. He just sat there quietly, letting her breathe through whatever storm she carried. Noah slid his cereal bowl toward her again. "You can have it." He whispered, "Not this time." She took it down outside. The world thawed under the rising sun. Inside, in a small home that had seen its share of struggle, a stranger found warmth, safety, and the first flicker of trust. Daniel didn't know it yet, but that small act of kindness pulling over in the storm was about to reshape his life. Because somewhere far beyond their small town, in a place of power and ceremony, someone was searching for Leah, and they were getting closer by the hour.